Yeah, let's go. Welcome on the show. I thought we were live. Yes, we are alive. Indeed. I've got an entity, I said, with me, an institution, so to say, without flattering, today in the person of Justine Dale, being corrected. So I say, if you've got a cup of tea or coffee, get yourself together. You need to be informed. If you're like me, I really, really want to know. I want to be informed. I gravitate towards someone that has been schooled. I don't want to be an ignorant. I don't want to be a foolish person. I really want to know because, sometimes you're spent and you're in pain and you're in agony for nothing, when you can actually really get help. So when I see this woman, that she does help people in this way, because I try to help people, not me, I get help from God to help people. And I'm fascinated by other people as well that have been schooled to get it, because I think you can only get this supernaturally. So they got this somehow, and I want to know how, apart from the school, do they have something inside of them that are helping them, uh, you know, in terms of hypnotherapy, and also the skeptical things that we have around hypnotherapy. So I'm fascinated. So today, sit tight, where I'm going to be bringing someone on the show today, like I said, that you might want to learn from. Who knows? Your predicament could be ending today. Yes, I don't want anyone to be in pain, in agony, and unnecessary for that matter. So we're going to go on a quick break, and the face of the person you're going to be seeing next is going to be Justine Dale. We will be back. Welcome on the show, Justine. Your camera is very sharp, better than
Thank you.
mine.
It's lovely to see you, Temi. Thank you so much for given me this opportunity to speak to you about hypnotherapy. It's great to be here.
Thanking you. Normally, you will have Heidi, or you might have Liz, or we sometimes have the three of us. But today, Liz is under the weather, and Heidi really wanted me to move the time. She's like, "Can you tell Christine? Can she just Justin? Can she change the time?" I'm like, "I don't know. To get Justin, it's very difficult. I tried to get you for days, and I'm not able to get you. So I don't think this is gonna work today." So I said, "Yeah, don't worry." But she really, really wanted to have a chat to you. So I hope sometime in the future, if you're able to come back, you might be able to see Heidi, because she is in the
Absolutely.
therapy industry as well.
Fabulous. And I always welcome just an individual conversation. People can chat with me and ask questions, find out what it is that hypnotherapy might be able to do for them. I'm always open to that.
Fantastic. Please tell us. I need to say something though. You are a registered nurse, which I am as well. I'm a nurse by trade, and you bag a BA in psychology after your nursing, and then you went into diploma of midwifery. So you actually majorly wanted to be a nurse, or you majorly a nurse because you kept on going back to midwifery and that.
It's true. I've always been drawn to helping people. Initially, my thoughts were towards being a midwife, and back in when I was doing that training, you really had to be a registered nurse before you could be a midwife. So I was happy to do that training, and then in that I recognized there was so much strength in the power of people's minds, in their health, as well as in their mental health field. So that drew me towards psychology, and I thought it would be really interesting to see what makes us tick. And whilst I was doing that, I was drawn back towards midwifery. People around me were having babies, and I thought I'd love to know a little bit more about that. And that's been my passion for 20 years. I've loved being a midwife. I'm still working in one of the largest hospitals in Melbourne for maternity care. And so that kind of was really the catalyst for how I got to hypnotherapy. I knew very little about it, as most people. I had an idea that it could be useful, but not necessarily what for, maybe to quit smoking or weight loss. And I thought that was the limited scope of it. Um, and so it was with the helping people have babies. I've been in the room as they birth their babies and recognizing that people are generally really scared, a load more scared than they used to be, that things are going to be awful. And I think I've got multiple theories for why that is, but one of them would be we're sharing openly scare stories and horror stories about what's happened for people when their context has been coming into birth with the approach of being upset and scared already. So we know that affects birth hormones. So I wanted to be able to reach people before they had their babies. So I came into childbirth education, and as part of that, I looked at hypnobirthing. Would that be a useful modality to broaden my midwifery career? But in learning about hypnobirthing, I realized the massive scope of hypnotherapy. That anxiety is one of the most useful. The hypnotherapy is one of the most useful treatment approaches for anxiety in all its different forms.
Okay, so you went back and did clinical hypnotherapy and strategic psychology therapy. What was the clinical hypnotherapy? Is it different from just hypnotherapy and the strategic psychology?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that lots of hypnotherapists might work with a different approach. Hypnotherapy it's really useful when you're talking about what is it to help people who've got no understanding what's going on. Is hypnosis is simply the ability to put somebody in a really relaxed state. They'll be very open to suggestions. So learning how to hypnotize somebody is really simple. You can do it in a weekend, and it's possible to call yourself a hypnotist after a weekend. And what most of us have got an awareness of is seeing people in a state of hypnosis on the stage shows. And so then there's this disconnect with how can that help me? How can, if somebody can make me cluck like a chicken, why is that going to be useful for my mental health? So understanding that hypnotherapy is using hypnosis as a vehicle for delivering therapy. So it's the therapy, the training that you've had in what you're going to say when somebody's in that hypnotic state is what words.
I get it. So the sequence of asking that question and what you ask next, that's the strategy. Uh-huh. Now I get it. One question I'm going to ask before we go, I've got quite a lot of questions for you because where I come from, to start with, when we hear, growing up, when I hear about hypnotherapy, somebody sending you into trance and I tell you to go and bring your mother's money and they can hypnotize you to evict all your property. And so there's a connotation towards it that we're always scared and we always believe that this is some spirits being, they use some sort of spirit. I don't know. So we have a wrong connotation towards it. Do you evoke some spirit to do this, or is it just clinical, practical, or was it wrong what they say that they just hypnotize you to send you to transit and then you misbehave, something like that?
It's part of the misconception that's connected to hypnosis, what's involved, because this you can present people with some powerful suggestions to have a different way of thinking. And so I've never heard of it used in that spiritual way before. but I can pretty much guarantee that somebody will have misused it. But then I think it's really doubtful, the understanding that we only take up suggestions that resonate with us. It really isn't some form of mind control. It's highly unlikely somebody could get you to give your money away, but maybe the powerful suggestions were in the beliefs around why you should give your money away. If it didn't sit well with you, you're very unlikely to accept those suggestions. So I
Wow.
like to really separate that hypnosis isn't mind control. It is affecting changing beliefs that you hold, but only to the beliefs you're going to want. So no therapist is in the position of wanting you to have an outcome that's not useful to you. That's the whole purpose of you being there.
Power of suggestion. Wow, that is the word. That is the word. Well, let's go on a quick break. Like I said, I've got quite a number of questions for you. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome back on the show. I've got Justine Dale with me, an hypnotherapist extraordinaire. She's done so much work on this, and she's also a colleague. Somebody was asking, where is Heidi and Liz? Heidi is engaged somewhere. She really wants to be here. She wanted us to move the time, but of course, Justine is very busy, and I know how hard it is for me to get her. And so I don't think last minute change is going to work anyway. And what's Elise is under the weather. So we still got Justine talking about hypnotherapy and how you can use it to benefit your life. And I've got a lot of questions here for you. Is this recommended, Justine, for all women wanting to have a baby? Because I'm just wondering, some people are coming with fear and some people are coming with extreme positivity. And so if you want to, work with these people, do you give them worst case scenario? And what do you, is it recommended basically for every woman? Would you think?
Personally, in my experience as a midwife, I think depending on the approach of the hypnobirthing practitioner, yes, because the hypnobirthing, there's a myth as well about what that involves. Often people assume that people who do hypnobirthing want to have a natural birth and that they're not willing to have any medical pain relief, and it's to prevent that. There's also this understanding that hypnobirthing is about having a pain-free birth, and that way your birth will be positive. But in reality, a really great definition of hypnobirthing is having the right kind of information and a positive mindset so that you can expect that you can cope with whatever labor and birth entails. And so my approach for hypnobirthing is very much about the information you'll get around what to expect. What is labor like? What are contractions like? What might happen if you're induced? What happens if there's a cesarean? The practical facts and scenarios that you might experience. There's a lot of understanding that the way we use language will help your approach. So I could say all of that in a really scary way and freak people out to go, oh my God, I don't want this and this and this complication. But it's really carefully scripted so that it's a very positive language is used around those scenarios so that they don't have to be scary, but you can be aware. We know that lots of people, the fear is around the unknown. If you don't know what something's going to be like, some people will assume that it's a scary thing. So if we fill your awareness with information that this is what might happen, this is what might happen, that means you can have reduced anxiety simply from knowing the facts. Then the addition of the hypnobirthing tracks, they're basically setting this foundation, an unconditional response, where if you hear, in my case, my voice and these soundtracks in a time when you can be really relaxed, your body can be physically relaxed whilst you're hearing it, then when you bring that to the birthing space, you've automatically likely to be physically relaxed. It's likely to help your birth hormones be more efficient. And so there's less likely for um, fear and anxiety to interrupt those hormones. And so it's this snowball to a more positive experience in any form. And so it isn't excluding pain relief. It's not saying that labor will be really easy, but it means that, like many people who do labor and birth without any pain relief, it doesn't have to be a dreadful thing. We can do hard things. Um, I'm sure you'll know that women can do
Yes.
amazing things. So with a little bit of help of a positive mindset, I do recommend it for every person. But I'm really wanting to emphasize that people don't have to have hypnobirthing for a positive experience, but it can help.
All right. Do you go into the birthing room with them, Justin, or where do you stop? Do the
That's it.
clinicians let you in?
Yeah, it's great you asked that, because that's another really common misconception, that you have to be hypnotized at the point of birth. But you don't. If you've got all enough of the right information and you've got a positive mindset, then you can simply have the enhancement for on the day is
Yeah.
me in your ears and an audio track, several audio tracks. So it's reconnecting you with that relaxed space. So it's not, people who do hypnobirthing, they aren't sitting in some kind of Zen-like state. They can be active, they can be talking, they can be um, doing whatever they need to do, plus be feeling relaxed. So it's by audio tracks. But also, lots of people find just doing the course, having the pre education and the positive suggestions can be so powerful. You don't need to listen on the day. It's just, now I can expect that I can do this. Let's get it done. Is also possible. That's how powerful um, your mind is in the preparation of this birth can be positive, and I can do it.
That's good. I saw in one in your write up, you were saying that most of these women they come with that trepidation, with mixed excitement, and then complete terror. Do you see them going in progression? Like they come with excitement, and then they go with fear, and then we go with terror, or mostly what do you see?
I think there is definitely, I've met many women who are just excited about having a baby, that they know it can be a wonderful experience and it does eventuate for them. I think that's fabulous. That's how I approached my birth. That's why I wanted to be a midwife. I knew how incredibly life affirming and really beautiful an experience it could be. That was the training my mum gave me, how birth can be this glorious thing and something we can look forward to. But many people just aren't anymore. There are a huge proportion of people, and I would say, from my experience, it's a growing proportion of people who are really scared about what's coming, literally really scared. So on my registration forms, when people sign up to my hypnobirthing course, I ask them, are they anxious about birth? And there's a small proportion of people say, no, really excited, I'm looking forward to it. But most people say, and obviously they're doing a hypnobirthing course maybe because of this reason, that yes, I'm really anxious, and there's really common anxieties that they're not going to cope with the pain, that they're going to have an emotional outburst, they're anxious about emergency surgery, and they're also anxious about tearing. So those are the four that are just the most common, and they're not a little bit scared about them, they're absolutely petrified. Is a really common approach for people. It makes sense if you don't have any information around there, apart from people share often on social media and forums and birth forums things like really scary information. I just felt like I was going to die. I thought I was going to rip apart. I was tearing in two. And it's kind of, imagine if you've got no context for that, and that's what you're preparing for. Of course, it's scary. So the getting the information about what else it might be like, it's really useful to help people to have that change
Relax.
belief of something that's not copable with, to here's something I can do. And it really is the power of the mind to do that, not just the education.
Fantastic. It's interesting because where I come from in the past, the birthing situation, oh my God. If you're admitted into a ward like kilometers away, you can hear women screaming and everybody. So we don't know what has changed now that, because I'm a nurse, but I'm not a midwife. So I don't think I could be a good midwife. I will not be good because I will be scaring you, all right, and I'll be screaming before you have your birth. So that's why I respect myself and I just, stay on my side, on my line, but on lane. But I love children to bits, and I love the way they grow and they blossom. But I'm going to go on a quick break and I'm going to ask you another question, which I found very interesting in your write up. We'll be back. Welcome back on the show. We're still engaging here with Justine Daly, and Justin is telling us how we prepare you for childbirthing. I've never prepared anyone. I just pray for them and I'm waiting for the baby to come out. But we know a whole lot of things could go wrong. So now I'm just thinking about this, birthing hypnotherapy thing, that it's a good thing because you really engaging deeply with them. You're preparing them for this rather than just pray and say, oh, that's it. I release you to God. Now you'll be right. But the anxiety could still be there. We know that they could still have these mixed feelings and all that. And this is good that I want to know, to challenge my skepticism, to challenge my notion about hypnotherapy. And I know a whole lot of you too, you've got that from where you came from. Hypnotherapy is not good from where you came from. But oh, good afternoon. Long time. Welcome on the show, Sheena. But you said something about focused birthing. What is focused birth? What's that?
That's a great question. That's the brand name I've given my particular course of hypnobirthing because there is a registered trademark. It's a franchise method,
Ah,
I suppose, that people can do a really small training course and call themselves a hypnobirthing practitioner. And
right.
so it's run all under the one umbrella of Hypnobirthing Australia. And it's a really fantastic way of working for lots of people. You don't have to be a midwife to do that. You don't have to be a clinical hypnotherapist to do that. It's just you can get some training and some knowledge and help people birth. But and then they provide you the information that you can share with people and the audio tracks. And I found I didn't want to go down that pathway because from my experience as a midwife, it was quite limited. If people don't have experience of birth, then you can have a limited way of helping the people on your course. If you can just say, well, everything should be great. Now you've done this course, it should be painless and you should be able to cope really well. You just do these breathing techniques. These are the massage techniques, and it's going to be wonderful. So off you go. Now, for some people, that's fabulous training. But if their birth eventuates, if it takes the pathway that's expected, and so I wouldn't say that that's the wrong thing to do at all. But what I wanted to do is have a full understanding of how was hypnosis helping, and that's what led me to clinical hypnotherapy. So
Mhm.
I don't really I didn't do that course. It was so brief. I thought I know the whole midwifery side of it. Let me now find out about the hypnotherapy side. And that's when my mind was completely blown. Power of hypnosis is just something that's very untapped. The skepticism is such a shame that people don't realize the power of our minds. When you said that lots of people would just trust in God, what is that? It's the power of your mind to say, somebody with a greater understanding has got my back. I don't need to fear this because there's somebody there looking after me. And
Yeah.
so your mind has told you that's okay. You can cope with that because there's somebody looking after you. So for people who aren't necessarily spiritual, they don't have a God looking out for them, or they don't believe there's a God looking out for them, the power of their mind needs to be swayed in other directions.
That's
And the
true.
hypnotherapy can stop those limiting beliefs. And so lots of people say, well, what's a limiting belief? It's a belief that you can't do something, that something's going to be too hard. It might be a belief, especially if you think about anxiety.
Mm.
People believe I've got social anxiety, therefore I'm going to be anxious when I go out. If people ask me questions, I'll blush. Um, I'm no good in large places. So those beliefs, if you can change those, and it's absolutely possible with hypnosis, if you can change those limiting beliefs, they're not a barrier to people meeting their goals and to experiencing the world with less anxiety.
When you talk about anxiety, I saw all the areas that could be covered with your portfolio. You could look after someone with stress, migraine, anxiety, fear, insomnia, phobia, life, career goals. What is imposter syndrome? That one I
Imposter
saw.
syndrome. It's a
Yes.
really common one. Lots of people as well at the moment. There's the misunderstanding around the power of hypnosis means that often people only seek help from a hypnotherapist if they've got an actual problem. And you can come for growth and mindset changes. They don't have to be a problem. They might just be improved confidence. Imposter syndrome is one of those where people find it's a problem. And nearly always it's people who are really academic. They've done really well all their life. They've got multiple degrees. They are really high up in their field and they're just not good enough. There's something telling them. And that the fact they've got multiple degrees and qualifications will tell you that what the problem is, that they keep having to reach for this external validation. If they can get another exam, maybe they'll feel they're good enough. So imposter syndrome is I'm good at what I do, but I'm not good enough. There must be something better. And so it's really possible to change that with the therapy to make it so that they can look at what their skills are, what resources they have, and just literally switch off that limiting belief that they're not good enough, which means all of a sudden they are good enough and they have that sense of confidence, a renewed sense of confidence,
Mhm.
change every aspect of their life, but specifically their self-esteem.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Well, everyone is got something here because you must have something. You must have separation anxiety. You might have the emptiness, which is where we are now. You might have some chronic pain. You might have, and this is why Heidi wants to be here with you because this is what she's passionate about. She doesn't believe in everything has to be taking some tablet or something like that. She believes in this stuff. That's why she wants to be here. Now, is your number on the hospital's desk? Do they have do they accept the therapy? Like in the birthing soothing, for example, or in the hospital, would they refer clients or patients to you? Because a lot of patients might not have access to you and they are in this panic is stoic situation. Would they refer people to you?
It's going to depend on that person's knowledge as well. As a midwife myself, I honestly doubted hypnobirthing for many years because I saw the side when it wasn't successful, when people thought that it's going to be painless because they've done that preparation. And so that really made me skeptical about hypnobirthing and the
Yeah.
power of hypnosis because it was just done not right. And so, no, often obstetricians specifically, I've asked lots of obstetricians where I work, what do you think about hypnosis? Oh no, I need my patients to have like the option for pain relief. That needs to be a thing. And so that's the misconception that it's not the opposite of that. You can have an improved mindset and you can have the medical option as well. It's not an all or nothing approach. It's not just about natural birth. It's about a positive birth, which is really potentially different. Lots of people imagine if you're going in for a cesarean, we know most people have a regional anesthetic. They'll be awake, they'll feel potential pressure and touch, but no pain. That's a really scary option for many people. And so to have a positive mindset around that can be really valuable. It's not about only a natural birth. So, no, people don't have my number because they often don't believe in it, which is really sad. But there are also lots of hypnobirthing practitioners connected to different obstetricians. And
Okay.
GPs, interestingly, would be the people, they're very used to referring people with irritable bowel syndrome is one of them, and migraines to hypnotherapists, because there is research around the therapeutic benefit with those conditions. It's really hard to provide valid research to say that it's helping other things, but it doesn't mean it's not. It's just it's hard to replicate that this is the one aspect of the therapy that was helpful. And so some GPs have sent many clients to me because they've seen their clients' results for various things. Chronic pain is, I was really shocked with chronic pain. I didn't realize that that's what the client was there for. They were there for anxiety. And they came back the next week and said, actually, now their arthritis in their hands, it just doesn't hurt. They've resumed knitting again. It's kind of like, well, that's interesting. That was just one of the suggestions of many we made in that session. And so to see that transformation is incredible. So when a GP will have that evidence in front of them, they'll keep sending the next client and the next client, because they see the real life results.
Wow. Would you look after a client with like menstrual pain, for example, like chronic menstrual pain? Is that
That's a
is
really good question. So when we're thinking chronic pain, there's an element that where their mindset is maintaining the problem. Some pains are purely medical. There's a reason for it, and that's why you're having it. And hypnotherapy would not be useful to alter that. If there's no formal diagnosis, I will never try and address anyone's pain. If there are lots of people's painful conditions, they're under medical practitioners, they're having treatments, they're having regular medical follow-ups, and it's deemed that there's a psychological element to that pain that can certainly be powerful, but it's not about removing all pain. And so with menstrual pain, we know there can be a psychological element of this, a belief that I'm having to suffer every month. And so for some people it might be really useful. For other people it's a medical reason they're suffering. Things like endometriosis and things. So nearly always pain can be helped. It can't always be completely eradicated, and it shouldn't be. Pain can be a really useful sign that you need to seek treatment to get help. Something needs to be sorted. So it's a interesting whole subject, pain, but really highly effective for any element where there is a stressful element. So like people might have a back injury, and it might be a valid back injury. They've got scans, MRIs showing that there's a bulging disc and all of the potential consequences of that. But hypnosis can still reduce that pain. It's not to say that just because there's a physical reason that you can't address some of the psychological factors.
I got it. So it's about reconditioning and refocused where they are. Wow, I like what you said, that if they are under medical, it's not one or the other. You could use medical procedure if that is being taken care of, and if it's a genuine diagnosis, and that could be handled by medical practitioner. But if it's something like psychological, then you can do that. It's good to hear. It's really good to hear that.
And it's really great to have that collaborative teamwork. Lots of things that we're going through in life need that collaboration. It's the teamwork between the client, a therapist, a doctor, a surgeon. It can really enhance people's outcomes rather than picking and choosing individual ones because we're in opposition.
Wow. I've got two more questions. We're running out of time, but we'll go on a quick break and we'll be back. Welcome back. We're running out of time, but yeah, we got to ask this question. You are, of course, now with what you're telling me, that means you're not we can't do Medicare with you. We have to pay out of pocket. Is that right? We
That's
have to pay
right.
out of pocket. But the question I was going to ask, I see that you do online. Would you visit home visit, or are you fixed on online? Because I'm just thinking, you know, people like me might not even, I might not get hypnotized on the computer. You're gonna hold me down to really get me through.
See,
Or
there's
what?
those limiting beliefs that we could change straight away by just, there is again a lot of people are kind of like, how can you do that online? But let's consider what hypnosis is. It's listening with focus. You can do that really easily online. That if you think about when people are in a clinic, and I used to be in a clinic before COVID, there's no enhancement on being physically there. It's a talking therapy. We're going to discuss what the problem is. We're going to discuss what some possible solutions are. And so we don't touch. We don't need to be breathing the same air. So absolutely, I'm sure I'll be in a clinic again at some point. But it's been so successful online, and many hypnotherapists are finding they've got no reason to go back to a physical space, because now the door is open Australia wide. People in country locations, people just not being able to want to drive an hour and a half to somewhere. People wanting to be in the comfort of their own home. It's been incredibly powerful and really uplifting. We know that with COVID, anxiety rates skyrocketed. And so those people were in most need at a time when they couldn't access many other talking therapies. Waiting lists have grown massively. And that's
Yeah.
something that's really great about what I offer is with a psychologist. At the moment, GPs have really only got psychologists and counsellors to refer people with anxiety to, and their waiting lists are huge because
Mhm.
lots of people want to see them. And hypnotherapy can address exactly the same issues. And often it can enhance and speed up treatment because we're looking at short-term goals, things that can change maybe in one session. That with psychology and chatting about the problem, going away and see how you feel later, and can you do some of these exercises? That might be 5 or 6 sessions. Hypnosis, it might be one session, and people just feel that it's no longer a problem. And for bigger issues, potentially more sessions. But we know on the whole, it tends to be so much more cost effective because you're reducing the amount of time you're spending going to those other modalities. So
Okay.
at the moment, purely online, but that's only because it's working so well.
Purely online. Thank you so much. And I think that will be my last question. I really do appreciate you. So tell us how you can be assessed. If somebody wants to go, I put there they have to go to hypnotherapy.com.au or
Thank you, Temi. Yeah, so if people are after hypnotherapy, then my website is www.youhypnotherapy.com. So that's YOU
Mhm.
hypnotherapy.com. And there's
Yeah.
people after hypnobirthing, completely different website. So that's www.afocusedbirth.com.
The
And
folk.
so either one, you'll still find me, but yeah, depending on what you're after.
Okay. My suggestion will be actually going forward to be asking these people, how are you really feeling going into this childbirth? Not assuming that they are 100% and not assuming that whatever you've done with them is enough. Give an option to them if they need somebody to change their focus, and not, you said something, not taking power from them, is just to enhance them and to just let them to have a positive mindset, just to change their focus, as your website indicated, focused birthing. So let's focus on the birth. And I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. I've gained from you so much, and to see how much we have things in common with RN and midwifery and all those things. Fantastic. Thank you so
It's
much,
been great
Christina.
to meet you.
Sorry about change, the name Dale instead of Daily.
All good. No problem. It's been lovely talking with you, Temi. Thank you.
The same thing here, and hope to keep in touch. Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Justin. Bye for now.
Thank
And
you.
that's it this week. We come again next week for an amazing session on hanging out with Temi. Bye for now.
Thank you.